Welcome back. If this is not your first Waybook session, welcome back. It's good to see you. Huge apologies on my side for running a bit late. Believe it or not, I'm in central London and the internet decides to disappear just as I want to speak to all of you good people. So thank you for joining and being patient at the beginning there. So, if this is your first Waybook feature update, then you're in for a treat. This is basically the spot in our calendars that we have a bit of time to share with you some of the key things that have gone out into your Waybook account. If you've been with us for a while, you'll know that we're constantly adding small bits, tweaking small bits, and putting out big features as well to help you get your business on the same page much more effectively. So, what we're going to be covering in today's session is we're going to be looking at threaded comments. So, this is really at the heart of collaboration on the editing side of your Waybook. So, actually, we're going to look at how we've optimized threaded comments, how that kind of changes the way that you can work on the business and work on your individual documents. We also have learning paths within document information. So many of you will be using learning paths. We'll take a look at that and how we're better signposting where people are within the knowledge journey across your Waybook. And then we are also going to be looking at notifications for assignments. So we've made some tweaks to notifications within your Waybook account, and we just want to share with you what they are and also how can you manage them on your side as well. So if you would like to get involved in today's session, please feel free. We have a chat, we've got the Q&A, so please feel free to say hello, perhaps tell me where you're calling from, and we have a very good mix of people from all around the world. So hello, Frank from St. Louis, and anyone else who wants to pop up and say hello. So the other thing, we're just going to have a little bit of a broader look at notifications. So now we've made a slight tweak to notifications, we're going to be looking at how you can kind of optimize them a little bit more. So let's dive straight into threaded comments. So this is an interesting one. This basically came about because we know that many people not just use Waybook to share their information with their team, but actually to kind of keep their knowledge up to date, to keep things moving forward, to keep things kind of iteratively improving. And comments are a really big part of that collaboration feature. Now, what we noticed is that it's sometimes quite difficult to get to hold the thread as you're going through various different comments. For example, if one new document has a few different people contributing towards it, you can have different feedbacks, you can have different pieces of information, and sometimes it's hard to keep that conversation consistent. So what we now have within the internal chat system is the ability to thread and follow conversations along. So you can have multiple threads on each document, which means that if you're looking at a particular piece of knowledge, a particular piece of information, you can follow that in a threaded way. This is available in all accounts, and we're going to have a look at where it is. It's actually within your document activity tab. So let me head over into this example Waybook accounts, and I'm going to go to any of the documents that we have here. And if we go into the edit mode, you'll be familiar with the comments and activity tab, which I can just click and it will pull that open. Now you'll notice this will look a little bit different. As before, we will see all of the versions in that. So the versions are basically when a document is published. So we can almost see the bookmark between all the activities, all the comments, all the feedbacks between those versions. And of course, we can look back at the previous versions to see what amendments have been made. Now, the key difference, as I mentioned, is you can thread those comments. So whether that be a piece of feedback or a piece of information, I can then click on reply and I can reply to that and say, this is a great idea. And then when I click that reply, it will actually go up and thread into that comment. So the notification for that will still come into your notification center. You'll get an email as part of the summary, but we can then follow through those conversations. Now, this is particularly useful because we know that some people will have multiple questions going along a different document. But the key thing to remember is that if you ever want to look at a slightly cleared up version of the conversation, you can also do that on an individual step. So say if we're looking at how we optimize and improve this step, we can actually just toggle over into current step and we'll see actually where the feedback, where the information, where the conversation is on that individual step, or of course, look at all of the comments activities across that document. So we can already see that people are using threaded comments. I know it's been highly requested. It kind of keeps things clearer, keeps things less cluttered, and hopefully will really kind of help you optimize your knowledge as you move forward. So that's number one. That is already in your account. It's already out, and we hope it will be ever valuable. The other thing is a slight tweak. What we've actually heard from many of you that it is massively valuable in terms of helping signpost people around your Waybook and be consistent within their knowledge journey. So what this is basically or the reason why we did this is because we want to enhance the value of learning paths across your documents. So basically we want your team to know where knowledge lives, how it relates to different people, and essentially have these breadcrumbs across your knowledge. So if I go into a particular document as part of the health and safety workflow or the health and safety learning path, we want them to know that they're in that learning path and what else is relevant. But if you are searching for a document and you end up on that document, we also want you to know where that document lives and what else it's related to. So what we've actually done is we've enabled you to have a visibility on what learning paths each document is in, and therefore have the ability to navigate between the learning paths and complete the other relevant information that's relative to it. Now, the way you do this is it is available in all your accounts. It's done automatically, and it's also available in that document information bar, which we'll look at in just a second. But of course, just to rest assured, this is for all accounts with both access to the document and also to that learning path. So if people don't know a certain learning path exists because they don't have access, it won't show them all of that as well. It kind of stays compliant with all of the rest of the information around how Waybook works and how your permission structure exists within there as well. So let's head back in. Let's go into our document view here. And I'm going to close this off. I'm going to go back into the reader mode. So firstly, let's just reorientate into what learning paths are. Now we've got our fantastic structure of content here. We can see this in our, our clusters, in our perhaps departmental or sections or folders. And then the documents are our individual units of information. Now, if we go into learning paths are a way of us customizing that route or order through that content for those particular individuals. So if we say we have a customer service onboarding learning path or customer success learning path, we can say we want you to go through these documents in this order. We've recently added the option to have section titles as well, which actually just helps us stay a bit cleaner. We can say, right, first you're going to do introduction to sales, then you're going to learn about the product, then you're going to learn about the internal communication. And of course, you can enable deadlines and recurring deadlines on those as well. So this is particularly useful if it's not for onboarding, but you might have a health and safety or an office compliance a learning path that you need people to do every year. So we know that already. That's not new, although actually the section headers is relatively new. But if we head into a document, or if we head into a learning path and click on a document from within there, let's say we want to look at the next one here, which is team structure. What you'll see that if I've accessed this document from the learning path rather than from search or the left-hand navigation, on the left-hand side, instead of showing the document, it will show that learning path. So I always have a very clear and consistent view of where I am, what I'm doing, what's next and what has come previously. But let's say, for example, I come to that from a different way. If I kind of search for a leadership team or perhaps click on a document in a different way. So I'm in here and I said, you know what, this is really useful information. I can now click on that information tab and I can see all of the learning paths that document is within. So this is useful for me as a reader, but also for you as an editor. It's very useful to say, oh, do you know what, this should also be in this other learning path, or perhaps it doesn't need to be in this one. So you can kind of have a clearer, holistic view of how your learning paths are structured across your Waybook. So that is the second thing that's out in your account. We know that people are seeing this. We know that people are finding some value in that. If there's any other pieces of knowledge or information that you find would be useful within that information pane, which almost becomes the inherent part of that document, please do let us know. Of course, we're always interested, intrigued to how we can optimize and make Waybook better for you. Right, the third thing is the notifications for assigned documents. So the reason why we've revisited and we're optimizing notifications is basically to boost your team adoption and engagement and usage across the board. So the reason why we've optimized this is to ensure that your team have instant access for newly assigned documents. Now, what this is that you will send a notification as soon as a document becomes assigned. Now, previously, this wasn't actually working, not working. This wasn't actually a part of the system. What would happen is if somebody was given a deadline, given a due date, or added into your Waybook, they would get that notification. But you can add more content to those people, and they wouldn't be told automatically. Now, the reason why that was done was to not overwhelm your team members and also give you more control when you're having your due dates and descriptions. But speaking with many of you, we've heard that you actually want people to know when new information has become available that requires them up to date. So instead of previously relying on the deadlines or the summary emails, you will now send an email notification and a notification in the Help Center when a new piece of documentation has been received. Now, this is available in all accounts. It's done automatically, and you can do the additional customization settings within your Waybook account as well. So let's just jump into that and have a very quick look. So if I jump into this Waybook, perhaps we'll go into this document. Now, of course, it's very easy for us to set the due dates in one of two ways. If we go into the deadlines and the settings and deadlines, we can actually enable a deadline. We set a specific date, we set the relative date, and decide whether that's recurring or whether we just want them to look at that once. You can also do that in the learning path, as we mentioned, for all of it. And that will basically take over the notification system and mean that your team members will say, hey, Jane, it's time to look at this document, and you've got 2 weeks in order to do that. But now, once somebody is given assigned access, they will then get that email. Now, if we go into the organization and have a look at the group section, say, for example, we have our customer service group, and we have decided that we want to give them access to company messaging. I'll just toggle that on for require completion. It will turn it to read, and then all of those people will get the notification, as well as becoming part of the other of the reminders, any active due dates, and also the core email summaries as well. So now there's more notification settings within there. We have actually put you a bit more in control of that as well. So if you go into your settings and you go into options, here your users can actually toggle off the weekly summary email. Sorry, you as an admin can toggle it off for all members. All of your members will receive that weekly email, and that basically will detail their progress across the required documents. So we highly, highly recommend that you keep this on because it's almost that active reminder of what they need to do, what's new, what's coming up, and what due dates they have to complete in the near future. The other thing you can do here, and this is not really something that we recommend, but if you're in your early phases, you're building information out and you're making lots of changes, you can actually turn on silent mode. And silent mode is an admin setting that basically means that your Waybook won't send any notifications apart from your team editor updates. So we see this as a very short-term option that you might have on at the beginning of your Waybook journey, but certainly not one you'd want to have on in order to keep growing this within your team, because people will not necessarily see the information as it's coming to your account. Okay, so they're the three major updates which have gone out into your account. You'll also notice there are lots of other tweaks, optimizations, speed optimizations that have come out into your Waybook as well. The other thing to bear in mind as we move through is, so we're not going to go through this right now, but we've got that improved comments management in your document manager. Now, what's next? So as you know, we're always building, we're always working on things. The key thing that we're working on at the moment is improved knowledge creation. So many of you will still have knowledge or new ideas or new feedback or new pieces, source of information. And we're constantly working to make sure that's much easier. And we've got a big release, which is coming out in about 4 weeks. And then the next big project that we've just started working on is also your flowchart builder. So obviously you have your holistic standard operating procedures. You might have processes and procedures within that. And quite often you want to visually build how these procedures work together across the process of your business. And our flowchart builder will help you give a pure visual map of how things work within the business, or of course, how things work on an individual process perspective. So that's coming soon, as well as, of course, many, many more things as we move into the new year in just a few moments. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is a short, sharp, and hopefully sweet features update for what we've covered so far in November this year. I'd like to thank you all once again for joining us. It's really good to see people coming back to this every week, and I look forward to coming back to you in December with the final update of 2025 and a bit of a look ahead at what's coming in 2026, as well as a recap on the key things, the key features, the key values that we've seen having the most impact on Waybook users' accounts across 2025. So, if there are, oh, okay, if there's any questions, please do let me know. Matt, you've said, is there any update on the Shots rollout for desktop? Great question, and I'm pleased to say yes, it is rolled out. So we announced that last month on this webinar. So now Waybook Shots is entirely optimized, entirely updated. It means that you can actually update your Shots extension, and that extension will now be able to take the screenshot of any app. So not just on your Chrome or your Edge. It means that you can actually take screenshots on anything you want. Emily, you've said that you don't think that you're receiving weekly updates. We'll definitely come back to that. I'll get one of the team to jump into that to make sure that you've got summary emails and that they're being sent out. We can look that in the logs. But any other thoughts or questions? Good. I'm pleased you like that, Matt. Please do let us know if you've got any thoughts on that. In fact, whilst we are here, and some people have left, so if we jump into here, I'll just show you that Shots because it has changed quite a lot. So we see here we've got Shots. I can pull that up, start recording. Now, I don't believe you can see this, but I am having actually, let me share it with you. I'm able to select what I choose, where I'm going, what window, entire window, things like that. So in the same way that you would share on most systems. So I'm going to now just choose this Waybook here. And then it works in the very similar way or exactly the same way. I'm able to click, I'm able to go through, I'm able to decide on what I'm doing. And here it's screenshotting, it's highlighting, it's clicking, clicking the titles. Now, if I go to finish, that will take us into the post-edit mode within Shots. And what you'll see is that we've got these steps where possible, it's created the title for that. The key thing to note is if you're clicking on things that are not in your browser, Shots isn't able to get all of the titles and create that. That's something that we're optimizing to see if we can do that through some form of analytics. But the big differences that have happened is, say, for example, we want to edit this image. We actually now have image editing directly within Shots. So we can actually redact core pieces of information. We can annotate, we can do core pieces of, driving different bits of analysis. This isn't necessarily what you would want to do. That's not a great annotation, but of course you can annotate in any way you want. But another big change that's come from Shots is actually we are then able to click on add shots from recording. And what that means is if you're sharing your screen and you're rolling through, so let's say, for example, it doesn't quite take the screenshot that you want it to on that Excel file, you can actually just look at this and say, oh, look, actually, I wanted to highlight this holiday policy on the dashboard. So I can actually just take that screenshot and it will then just add that screenshot as the next step. Or, I can click to add a step in between here, pull it from the recording. So actually everything is recorded. It's not stored beyond this. Everything is deleted after 7 days. So you do want to extract that and put it within your Shots. So we're very excited about that. It is a huge update from Shots, and we're seeing that there's a lot more Shots being created as a result of that. So any other thoughts or questions? I will keep my eye on the chat for just a moment, but it looks like we may be done. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining. I hope you have a fantastic November, rest of your November, and I look forward to seeing you back here in December. If there's anything we can do to support or help, please do let me know. But until then, I hope you have a great one and enjoy some smooth scaling. Bye bye now.